Hello, everyone. I'm Sivonnia DeBarros, protector of athletes. And today I am going to discuss three things every entrepreneur should consider when filing for a trademark. But before I dive into that information, a little bit more about who I am, I want to invite you to join my trademark masterclass taking place, yes, this month, January 21st. You can RSVP right at bit.ly/TM Masterclass, but you want to make sure that is in all caps and use code New Year before January 14th to get our promotional rate. All right. So if this is something that you're interested in, go ahead right now. I know you're probably on your phone. Okay. So go ahead right now and register for the Trademark Masterclass. Use code New Year. All right, so three things every entrepreneur should know when filing a trademark. I chose this topic because sometimes I kind of look at issues that some of my clients face and some of the questions that they ask me, and it just gives me the idea that, okay, other people might have these questions or don't really know some of the issues that could be in front of them when trying to get a trademark to protect their brand. So that's where this topic has come from. So I am Sivonnia DeBarros, protector of athletes, but I also own a law firm called the SL DeBarros Law Firm, where I represent entrepreneurs and athletes, helping them to increase their business profits through boosting their legal protections with trademark contracts and litigation. Litigation meaning arguing cases in court. All right. Now, I have been featured in so many different places for the work that I do as an attorney, but also as a protector of athletes on platforms like WGN9, ABC, Fox. I can't remember the others, but I've been quoted in Forbes. I've been featured in Authority Magazine and some other places. So my work is definitely out there, and the whole point of getting my work out there is to educate individuals just like you, so you understand that protecting what you create is paramount, not just to today, but how you see yourself living years from now and the legacy that you want to create and leave when you are no longer here. So, in line with that, we're talking about three things every entrepreneur should know when filing a trademark. All right. So when we're filing our trademarks, we are essentially creating assets, protecting those assets, and we're building things for our future legacy. Sometimes people don't recognize that that's what they're doing, but essentially you are. So it makes sense now to just put that at the forefront, to think about what difference do you want to make in your life and those that you love. And you can do that with creating your own assets that can build financial sustainability long after you've gone from this earth. All right. Now, I said before, I bring these topics on because sometimes it's the questions that my clients are asking me or issues that I've seen. And I know that people are having some of the same questions. So if you're here, let me know that you're here, that you're watching. Drop a emoji or your name in the chat. Let me know where you're listening from. And if there's a specific question that you have on trademarks, go ahead and drop that in the comment section below as well, because I love to do a separate live about the issue that you're either facing or the question that you have on trademarks. All right. All right, guys. So 3 things to think about if you are filing for a trademark. Number 1, here it is. So get your pencils, your paper, your pads, whatever. If it's an electronic pad, do what you got to do. Get your information, because I'm about to drop it real quick for you. All right. So 3 things every entrepreneur should consider when filing for a trademark. Number 1, determine what your brand name is going to be. And now this is all in the first nugget, okay? Number 1, determine your brand name and understand the rules of specificity. I'm going to break those down for you. Brand name plus specificity. When you are creating a new brand, whether it's going to be attached to a product, a service that you're offering, whether it's a sub brand, however you want to use it in the marketplace, you want to make sure that the brand name is identifiable by other people, that it's repeatable by other people, that it helps the person that you're selling to latch on to that. So for example, protector of athletes, that is a registered trademark. What are you sporting about is a registered trademark. Those are my marks. And it's different. It's different. It sticks in the minds of the industry that I'm operating inside. Right? So you don't want to make the mistake by choosing a horrible brand name that doesn't really speak to what it is that you do, because then things will look out of alignment for you. And you don't want to have, be in that place where you're losing money trying to rebrand based on the name that you've already filed. Okay. So typically when we choose brand names and we start putting it out there, years go by and we have placed so much effort and financial effort inside of building that brand. You don't want to put yourself in that position. So determine what your brand name would be, but don't get married to one brand name. Think about multiple brand names before you go and file it, and see what fit best with the market that you're operating in and the services and or products that you will be selling associated with that brand name. All right. Now, the second part of prong one is to make sure that when you file you file for your application for trademark, that you are very specific in regards to what are the services that you're providing. Or, let me give you an example. So for my podcast, I have different classes, and we're going to talk about classes as well, but I have different classes for my podcast because it is a form of entertainment, but it's also a product. Like, people can download my episodes and they can keep them on their computer and be able to go back and listen to something if it was something that really just tugged on their hearts, or they want to kind of put a pin in that and say, oh, I want to come back to this later and listen to it. So you want to have specificity in terms of what is your brand doing. I have a trademark out there right now where application right now where we are filing for events, education. Oh my gosh, I can't remember all of it, but it's a lot. So you want to gather all the information. And here's the tip that I'm going to give you. When you start thinking about the brand name and the specificity of the brand name, it will behoove you to list out what are all of the things that I do with this name, albeit whether it's going to be a product or I'm going to use it as a form of service. Am I going to provide, for example, if you're an attorney like me, am I going to provide legal services? Am I going to do conferences? Am I a speaker with this brand name? You want to get so specific, because when you file your application, you want to try to push out your competitors from filing with the same name, but using something different to make it appear that they're not going to conflict with your brand. Okay, so that's why you want to be very specific, and you want to have a robust description about what it is that your brand is going to be used for. Okay, so that's number one, brand plus specificity. Number two is use. So you have to show proof of use when you file for your application, but did you know that you can also park the mark? So there are two areas that you can file your application in, is a 1A or 1B. And 1A just basically means like, hey, I want to go ahead and file this application right now because I'm already using this brand. I want to get my registration, and I'm going to give you evidence right now of how I'm using this mark so we can move forward with this process. 1B says, hey, I have this name, but instead of me moving forward with the registration process, I just want to park it and I'll show you proof later. So if you have an idea of a brand name that, you're like, oh, this is a great idea, but I don't have anything, it's not in the social airways or public airways or whatever, it's not out there for other people to latch onto it. You haven't sold something associated with it. You haven't done a workshop or whatever it is that you would do with that brand. You can ask USPTO, hey, park this name for me, and then I'll show you proof of use later. Now, showing proof of use is also very important. And I'm going to come back to the word specificity. If you use or provide a certain description to your trademark in your trademark application associated with the brand name that you want to have registered, you have to show specific proof of use. And proof of use meaning I have to show them evidence of how I'm using my brand, which is incongruent, which is congruent to the description that I've now listed in my application. Okay. So you can't say I'm going to go and file for Sivonnia DeBarros, all right, my name. And in my application, I say, okay, Sivonnia DeBarros providing legal services, speaker, and lumberjack service. And then the proof of use that I provide is, of course, the legal services that I provide and being a speaker, but then I don't have any information of where lumberjack services are provided. Okay. Or even speaking on lumberjack services. So if you can't show proof of use for every specific thing that you're claiming in your application, you may have to go and amend that application to take those pieces out where you don't have a proof of use for. Okay. So specificity definitely is important for prong 1, but also prong 2, showing that proof of use, but recognizing that you can park a brand name to keep other people from having a hand up on you before. So you don't want other people to try to jumpstart, right? Get in the first place of the line to get that trademark. You can put yourself in the best position to have that protection by parking that trademark before someone else does. And then you can show proof of use later. But caveat, you have to show the use later. Otherwise, you could end up abandoning the file. Okay, so third thing is determining what class can I file my trademark in? What class can I file my trademark in? So there are so many different goods, trademarks, and if you've never filed a trademark before, and I'm going to show you the ID manual, but if you've never filed a trademark before, even within the designated classes for a trademark, there are like these sub things that USPTO will have you go and search and say, okay, all right, am I doing this specific thing? And that goes and builds up to the description part of what your trademark is. So I'm going to show you guys the ID manual so you can get an idea. But before I do that, I'm just going to read off the trademark classes. So if there's anything that sticks out to you, jot it down, because if you have already created a brand or you're thinking about registering a mark, you want to keep in mind that, okay, I can file for, I can register my mark in this particular class, but understand though that it gets more specific once you go to the ID manual. Once you're inside of your application, it's going to really break things down into like these subclasses about what it is that you're actually doing. Okay, so here goes. Trademark classes: chemicals, paints, cosmetics and cleaning preparations, lubricants and fuels, pharmaceuticals, metal goods, machinery, hand tools, electrical and scientific apparatus, medical apparatus, environmental control apparatus, vehicles, firearms, jewelry, musical instruments, paper goods and printed matter, rubber goods, leather goods, non-metallic building materials, furniture and articles not otherwise classified, housewares and glass, cordage and fibers, yarns and threads, fabrics, clothing, fancy goods, floor clothing, toys and sporting goods, meats and processed foods, staple foods, natural agricultural products, light beverages, wines and spirits, smokers articles. Now, service mark classes. I'm going to read off the list for you. Advertising and business, insurance and financial, construction and repair, communication, transportation and storage, material treatment, education and entertainment, computer, scientific and legal, hotels and restaurants, medical, beauty and agricultural, personal services. All right. Now, let me show you the ID manual, and what I'm going to do is copy the link inside of the chat so you'll be able to just search for some things on your own. Okay. So I've put the link into the chat. If you don't see it, definitely let me know, because I want to make sure you get this information. So even if you decide that you want to have counsel help you with your trademark, which I think is the best option, but you can do some preliminary searching around what class you believe your trademark could fit in, and discuss that with your attorney so you can then have a better understanding of, okay, is this class going to work, or should I possibly pivot to something else? All right, so let's take a look at the ID manual. Okay. All right. So this is the USPTO Trademark ID Manual. And basically what I'm going to do is just search for something and kind of figure out what class would it fall into. And that will give me somewhat of like the recipe of what I may have to say inside of my application, where then I can show proof of use based on that particular thing. So let's see, I'm going to put sport business and see what comes up. So as you can see, there's class 35, class 41, which is a very popular class for a lot of people for a lot of things. So class 35, business management of sports people. So if I was in providing some kind of business management service and it was in the sports industry, so let's say maybe coaches, maybe they're considered sports people, I might be able to use this. Class 41 is very popular. So I might say, okay, well, I want to do entertainment and educational services in the nature of competitions in the field of entertainment, education, culture, sports, and other non-business and non-commercial fields. So you want to keep these certain things in mind, because if it's non-business and if it's non-commercial fields, does that really support what it is that you're doing? Okay. So let's see. I'm going to try, let's see what media gives me. All right. So if I search for media, it comes up class 9 media players, digital media hubs, receivers, relations services, paintings and mixed media. Now, this is interesting. So if there is a product name, or let's say you are an artist and you have your own store, then maybe you want to register your mark in class 16 for paintings and mixed media. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so this is a tool that you guys can really utilize, and then have the foundation to be able to have these conversations with your counsel to determine, okay, even if this is a good class for me to file in, what other things can I associate with my brand to make it robust and be able to protect it, not just now, but in the very near future. Because to show proof of use is very easy. All you got to do is start using the mark in the way that you say you are going to use it. So if you have questions about this, go ahead and drop your questions in the chat for me, and I will answer your question. If you have a question about trademarks in general, I definitely welcome you to drop that question into the chat box so I can do a separate live just for you about what your question is. But I want to recap, guys. So 3 things every entrepreneur should consider when filing for a trademark. If you are just joining us, that is what our topic has been. And before I recap, I want to just invite you to join my trademark masterclass taking place January 21st. You can RSVP at bit.ly/trademark masterclass. And I'm also putting that link inside the chat. Use code New Year before January 14th to take advantage of our promotional rate right now. Again, the link is bit.ly/TM Masterclass, and make sure that is in all caps. Use code New Year, again, in all caps. So To recap, for you guys that have been here or now just joining in, 3 things every entrepreneur should consider when filing for a trademark. Number 1, understand what your name is, what it's going to be used for, and have some specificity around it. Understand what proof of use is. This is number 2, but also being very specific in terms of what your description is and showing the proof of use for that. And number 3, understand what your class will be when you're registering for the trademark. You can use the USPTO ID manual to search for your specific class so you understand exactly how your mark will be registered. And here's a bonus for you guys. I bet you didn't know I was going to do this. Do not discount your web and domain names. So when you're thinking about your brand name, think of it also in terms of whether you will be using it for a website, because you're going to want to trademark your name for websites as well. And let me just do a search for you really quick. And I'm going to give you this bonus. But if you search for websites, let me see if I can share again. I'm just going to share the ID manual. So if you are an individual who are hosting websites, so that's class 42. If you are designing a website, same class 42. So you want to search for websites for your domain names. Okay, let's do a search for domain name and see what class that is. So we have domain registration services, monitoring services, class 45. So I would do a full search on your domain name to see where can I register my brand or the name that I want to protect, even if I have it as www.Sivonnia DeBarros, for example. Okay, so last recap: brand name plus specificity, understand proof of use plus specificity, and understand your class name. And the bonus point is don't discount your web name and domain names. You may need a trademark for that as well. I am Sivonnia DeBarros, protector of athletes. And it was my pleasure to service you today with this live on 3 things every entrepreneur should consider when filing for a trademark. Join me tomorrow. I'm going to have another live for you guys, and I will send you notice about what that will be later today. Take care, and I look forward to talking to you soon. Ciao.